announcement.
Attention shoppers, if you want a real deal, try Tide.
The Fan Rochester.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
At the Winter Olympics, United States facing Canada in women's hockey. The U.S. dominating. They're up 3-0. Webster's Haley Wynn assisting on the first U.S. goal. Again, they're in the second. Tuesday night hockey tonight at the Paulicini. RIT hosting Niagara. Tigers will be off for 10 days following tonight's game. RIT in second place of Atlantic Hockey. The Amerks are also off this week. It's the AHL All-Star break. Rochester back at Utica coming up Saturday. We'll talk to head coach Mike Leone next hour here in the Sports Bar. We'll have some draft talk coming up next. Chris Trapasso, our guest. Sports is brought to you by GetMyPerks.com, where today get a $50 certificate for half price to Selena's Mexican restaurant in Village Gate. For this other great deals, log on to GetMyPerks.com today. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
The beer is cold and the wings are hot. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Welcome back into the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia, glad you're with us. Gonna get Chris Trapasso on the line with us here so we can talk some Buffalo Bills, some NFL draft, some salary cap. The ride that is the NFL season has come to a close. New league year will start next month, and of course we're just a couple of weeks away from the NFL Scouting Combine, which is always exciting just to know like what prospects are going to be there, what prospects are going to be around the time that your team is picking in April's draft in Pittsburgh, and Chris is always great at kind of laying out needs and wants and desires for the Buffalo Bills pre-draft.
This I find surprising, that we had a 10-year low with Nevada sports books on betting on the Super Bowl. Now, on the surface, you'd be like, how can that be? But is it just a byproduct of, hey, there's other ways you can do this, and you don't need to go through Vegas, or your friend that's going to Vegas, you don't need to have him place a bet for you. But I thought that in a world where this is more acceptable and it's an acceptable form of entertainment, that this year's, according to David Purdom of ESPN, the money exchanged in Vegas was down 55%
Is
year
it
over year.
specific to Vegas, or is it all of the sports books, gambling in general?
Nevada sports books.
Nevada sports books. I think that you hit the nail on the head. I think the reason why it's probably less about Vegas now is because in our state and in a lot of states, you don't need Vegas.
Yeah.
You just do it on your phone. And it goes now beyond the sports books, right? Like you can wager a lot of money a lot of different ways if you so choose. You don't necessarily need the old standard casino or sports book in Vegas to do so. But I imagine that that the touchdown that was called back, the Kenneth Walker touchdown that was called, that probably cost Vegas some significant dough.
I'm thinking.
Because that would have tilted
Yep.
it to the over. And I think at least the people we talked to going into Sunday, almost universally, it was like, take Seattle, take the under. Seattle and the under. Seattle and the under. I mean, we heard it from everybody. And that's what ended up hitting.
That's when it ended up hitting. And that's where I thought myself, I'm like, wait a second, everybody's saying Seattle. Is there something to be said that New England's going to ugly this up? And you're thinking, hey, it's 6-0. All they need is a Sam Darnold turnover. And, DA kind of pointed this out. It was just great coaching by Seattle. Like, no, we're not going to do anything exotic here.
Right.
There was like one shot deep to Shaheed that was broken up nicely by Gonzalez, but you weren't going to put ball in harm's way.
Correct. Yeah, and in that specific instance, what would that have been? That would have been an arm punt, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, really, that's all we're talking about. So, that I guess it doesn't surprise me when you consider all of the different ways now that people, if they choose to wager, can wager specifically on their phone or on their computer.
Well, then you have this whole other thing with, hey, on your phone here in New York State, we can't predict what the first song is by Bad Bunny, but Kalshi is saying that they took in more than $1 billion overall on their prediction market, which, I don't know the language there, how that's different than.
I haven't spent enough time on that to know what's up, but there's a little bit of a stench specifically around Bad Bunny, that I think that there was somebody within his performance that had insider information, but still was able to make a prediction on Kalshi that probably netted some money. So I think we're getting into some real sketchy territory here. And again, I don't know who's checking any of this or who's coming back in and saying that we need to, keep this above board. We need to keep the integrity behind. It's dicey out there.
Yeah, I mean, for anybody that was in that rehearsal, you would know what the first. It would just seem too easy to place a wager on that. Our favorite, Chris Trapasso, 585 here. Chris, there are two seasons. I'm thinking in your world, right? Football season and draft season. How are you today?
100% correct. I'm doing great, and it's great to be back on this show with the eyes directly on the NFL draft in a couple months.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about where the Bills are, what they've done, the changes that we can expect. And if we can, Chris, let's start specifically with Jim Leonard's defense and what this might mean for the roster that they have, the free agents they may be losing, and who they may be looking towards bringing in for this defense.
Yeah, I think it will look different. There will be more three-man defensive fronts. That doesn't mean that it's the classic 3-4 versus 4-3 that we talked about in the early to mid-2000s into the 2010s. There's so much nickel today. There's a lot of dime package. So it won't look drastically different, but there will be players that the Bills probably would have glossed over in free agency in the draft, smaller edge rushers to be those stand-up rush linebackers, bigger, longer defensive ends to play down on the line of scrimmage in that 5 technique position, kind of face up with the offensive tackle. That was really just not a position. That was one position in the Sean McDermott defense. That was just the edge rusher. That was the Greg Rousseau, the A.J. Epinesa, and then they drafted Landon Jackson last year to be that type of player. There will be 2 players on the edge of the defense up front in that front 7 in Jim Leonard's defense, and I think we're going to see more man coverage and more blitzing more frequently than at any stage of the last 9 years in this Bills defense.
As we're kind of figuring out, all right, what are the needs, and you can make an argument for every level of the defense is going to be a need here for Buffalo. What about offensive line, Chris? Because it certainly it's been kind of a rock here, but you do have 2 key pieces that are heading into free agency in David Edwards and Connor McGovern. Do you see the Bills ponying up top dollar, or do they feel comfortable with an Alec Anderson, Cedric Pran Granger? Let's get something in the draft here. Where do you think the offensive line fits in terms of a need right now?
I would be a little bit surprised if the Bills let both David Edwards and Connor McGovern just bolt in free agency. Now, I'm going to say that and kind of hedge a little. If both of those 2 get like top 3 to top 5 paid at their position, then maybe the Bills sent an offer, most likely, as they do to a lot of their inside free agents, and they just were priced out. because there are some rumors that they could, one of two, if not both of them, are going to get huge money at center and guard. But I do think if you're going to say, we're all in, we know Josh Allen's 30, we feel the Super Bowl window is open, you don't necessarily want to replace two players up front. And I think the stability in front of Josh Allen the last couple of seasons, even though, like you mentioned, you were getting at, he took a lot more sacks this year than he did in 2024. I think the stability up front has been a key component to keeping Josh Allen at this elite MVP caliber level where they're not worried about a weak link or two or three up front the last few years. But like you alluded to as well, I think Cedric Van Pran Granger and Alec Anderson have been those younger blockers that have been groomed in case of emergency where they do lose both of those players. So I guess it's not really a straight answer because I'm not sure what they'll do, but I would be surprised if they're just like, oh, we're fine with two new pieces who haven't played significant snaps taking those key positions at left guard and center in 2026 in front of Josh Allen.
Well, let's get sexy, Chris. Let's talk about wide receiver. It's what everybody wants to talk about. I mean, we know Keon probably isn't going anywhere because, well, you scorched the earth and nobody's really going to give you anything of value for him in return. Brandon Cooks is a free agent. Doubtful he's back, I would imagine. You've got Shakir. But what about weapons for Josh Allen? Do they come via free agency? Do they come via a blockbuster trade like we saw Bean do with Diggs years ago? Does it come in the draft where I'm hoping the Bills invest not just one but multiple draft picks on the future of that position for this team?
We're pretty aligned here because I do think that this is a draft for them to double dip at wide receiver. And I also think everything that you outlined should be on the table. And it wouldn't surprise me, and what I think they should do, if they go out and whether they trade for a Brian Thomas Jr. or trade for Marvin Harrison Jr. or maybe swing the big trade for A.J. Brown, bring in a veteran that's established that you know, you've seen him, you can watch NFL film of him, you know what you're getting with that player. And then in round one, hopefully, or potentially round two, you draft your future number one wide receiver who can come in and be that number two or number three right away. And then I think later on to fill out the wide receiver room, whether it's third round, fourth round, fifth round, you draft another wide receiver. I think three new wideouts in varying degrees of prominence on this offense is what the Bills should be aiming for this offseason. And so you have to approach that as many ways as possible. I don't think someone even like a Romeo Doubs or a Christian Kirk would be bad ideas on the free agent market as well. So they need to explore all the avenues to do it. And based on what happened last season for most of the year, we all realized it, and it kind of reared its ugly head in the playoffs. That this Bills wide receiver group needs a kind of a complete overhaul outside of Khalil Shakir.
Chris, you did a nice piece here on a player that we were tipped off on last season because, and I'm bending the truth here just a little bit because I don't know, at the age of 5, you can be called a Rochester native, but he's a Rochester native. Casey Concepcion, yes, is in this draft. Pride of 585. Pick 26. Would that make sense for Buffalo, Chris?
1,000%. And I believe he was born in Rochester, so he can always say that. I think he did move when he was 3 or 4 years old. But yes, he there's a chance that maybe his parents have 585 area codes like we all do. Yeah, I think he would make so much sense for this offense because the one thing that I feel like we've talked about on this show and what was so obvious to fans and probably to Josh Allen and to anyone else watching the Bills receivers struggled with separation. It's been something that even in 2024, when the Bills scored 31 points a game and Josh Allen won the MVP, they made a trade for a 31-year-old Amari Cooper because they needed someone that they thought could get open, and he really couldn't. And then they did it again with Brandon Cooks at 31, and he did a little bit of a better job creating separation down the field, but it wasn't consistent enough. And they didn't have anyone else outside of Shakir that could do that on a routine basis. Concepcion can win underneath. He can win at the intermediate level, and he has that vertical juice down the field. There were some drops on film, but there also were plenty of those contested catch grabs from a smaller receiver like the one that Brandon Cooks ultimately got snatched out of his hand for that interception in the Broncos game, which I do think it was a catch.
So
but anyway, yes, he absolutely is the exact type that I don't think the Bills need to go into this draft and saying, we need to right our wrong and get another Keon Coleman type that's 6'3", 215 pounds. Now, they could pick one. I don't think, though, that has to be the type. Concepcion is a little smaller, but the separation ability is just effortless with him on film.
Chris, we haven't had a chance to talk since it all went down, right? I mean, you brought up the catch that wasn't a catch and the exit from the postseason, premature exit from the postseason, the firing of Sean McDermott, the disastrous press conference, and the announcement of Joe Brady a week later. What's your take on how this has all gone down? Because if it works, then everybody thinks Brandon Beane is a genius. But right now, I mean, the guy is getting the side eye from a lot of Bills fans who are wondering why Terry Pagula went through with the half measure here instead of cleaning house entirely.
Sure, and I think that makes a lot of sense. I think you can look at it both ways, that if they were to have totally cleaned house, there would have been some logic there. But I do think that, and I read it in the Tyler Dunn piece at golongtd.com, that he had an exclusive sit-down with Brandon Beane and said, like, I can't make decisions based on what fans and the media think we need to do. And frankly, we're pretty darn close. And that they were a bad reffing call away from winning that game and going to their second straight AFC title game. So from that perspective, and then factoring that into, if Joe Brady was not the Bills offensive coordinator and the Bills had even like the 16th best receiver group in the NFL, his resume would be certainly one of the best, if not the best, in this head coaching market. So I don't think it was an outlandish decision for them to promote him from offensive coordinator to head coach. I think key number one was a coach that would be connected with Josh Allen, and Joe Brady certainly is. But now the pressure is absolutely on Brandon Beane, his scouting staff, his pro personnel staff, to add more pieces on the offensive side, most namely at wide receiver that we just discussed, and then get Jim Leonard a few pieces here and there that he can fit into this new look defense that will be more aggressive and will play more man defense.
Chris, here comes the fastball of a question. How is Brandon Beane, comparatively speaking, to other GMs in this league? Where does he compare when it comes to the draft? We've had, like, say, for instance, Thor Nystrom on, and he not talking about Beane, but, said, hey, the worst at this is Terry Fontenot from Atlanta. He should be fired. And, sure enough, he was fired a couple of years later. But because we're critical here in Western New York of every pick, every team is going to miss on picks here. So, Again, the question, Brandon Beane, where would he rate in terms of his peers when it comes to the NFL draft?
Yeah, this is something that I really want to dive into and try to create some kind of formula for myself that I can put out there and that we could talk about so there's objective numbers with the GMs. I think he still is one of the better GMs in terms of overall acquisition. I think the one problem that is fair to bring up with him is that outside of Josh Allen and then until this season, James Cook, there are, 8 to 10 to 12 pretty good players that he's drafted. Greg Rousseau, Christian Benford, at times Terrell Bernard. Khalil Shakir is along with Puka Nacua, one of the best day 3 picks at wide receiver that we've seen in the last 5 to 10 years. There have not been, though, those Chris Jones or those Travis Kelce, L'Jarius Sneed, the true superstar game changers, because a lot of his first rounders have not really panned out. And that's typically where you're going to find those legitimate all-pro type players. So I think his track record, when you look at it, it's kind of it's the litmus test. How do you already feel about Brandon Beane? You can kind of pick out bad picks. You can also select some bad selections that he's made. But I think more so than anything else, he's done a pretty good job in the draft market, getting good quality players on the roster over the last 8 years. The difference, though, I think, is if they had a all-pro at the safety spot after Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. They don't have that yet. If they had an all-pro right tackle, all-pro left tackle, they have 2 good players at those positions, but not those all-pro perennial type players that when you look around at Super Bowl winners, it's normally not just the quarterback and a bunch of good players. There's usually a few others that can help carry the load as well. So I think that would be the one criticism and he's probably trying to go into this class saying, I need to find someone that can also really move the needle beyond Josh Allen and beyond James Cook.
All right, so you said something earlier, and I want to kind of expand on it a little bit while we're talking about Brandon Beane here, swinging for the fences by way of a trade, getting a Brian Thomas Jr. or, God, man, you said Marvin Harrison Jr., and I know that everybody, it gets you feverishly. Your appetite just gets out of control. But you have his wide receivers coach. Is there a connection there, and what would it take to swing one of those deals? Would it take a first? Multiple firsts. I mean, what exactly would Brandon Beane have to do to swing that kind of a deal for a true number one wide receiver?
Well, part of the reason beyond the obvious coaching connection that the Bills hired his wide receiver coach, which is very strong, and you look around the league this offseason, every offseason, so many of those coach-player connections ultimately lead to deals and players being moved. I think the other reason, though, why I brought up Marvin Harrison Jr., and kind of the same is true for Brian Thomas Jr., is that you would kind of be able to get them at a buy low situation. That Marvin Harrison Jr. came into the NFL 2 years ago, extreme amount of hype, and he's been good. He has not been as good as Malik Neighbors. He has not been as good as advertised. And then you look at the situations individually. In Arizona, Michael Wilson just went over 1,000 yards. Trey McBride is one of the elite tight ends in the NFL, and they're probably starting over at the quarterback spot with a new head coach. Same GM, so maybe he does feel that connection to one of his first picks. That would make sense. But I think at this point, you probably would not have to offer 2 first-round picks to get Marvin Harrison Jr. still on a rookie deal over the next 2 years. And then Brian Thomas Jr., I think, is even more so someone that you could buy low. He has over 1,200 yards as a rookie. They get a new GM, so he does not have a drafting connection to Brian Thomas Jr., who trades a bunch of picks to pick Travis Hunter, plugs him in mostly at wide receiver. He gets injured. So they're going to be really trying to get return on investment for Travis Hunter. And then last season, as we watched, and obviously the Bills played them in the playoffs, we saw these other players. Parker Washington has a breakout season in the slot. He's going to be coming up for a new contract soon. They trade in the middle of the season, even with Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter on the team and Parker Washington, they trade for Jacoby Myers. So I think, I don't want to say it's an overly crowded wide receiver room. I don't know if that's possible in today's NFL, but I think those 2 receivers you have to call about if you're Brandon Beane, because I don't think they would cost more than a few, maybe 1 day 2 pick and a day 3 pick, maybe like a second and a fourth. I don't think that would be crazy for those 2 young and very talented wide receivers.
If the Bills are holding on to their first-round pick for wide receiver, we talked about Concepcion, and Chris, we're just kind of wading into the pool for the first time, right? You've been at this for a while, but tell me, like, your opening thoughts for our audience. What about some of these other names we're reading about? Mekhi Lemon, perhaps, Denzel Boston. Maybe there's somebody else who might be available, the best fit for Buffalo at 26?
So outside of Concepcion, who I think would be an exquisite fit for the Bills, you did mention a few. Mekhi Lemon, to me, is a little bit more of a slot-only wide receiver, but I will say that with a caveat that I think you can move wide receivers around anywhere. Unless they are like 5'7", 160 pounds, they can play anywhere. He's kind of like Amon-Ra St. Brown, another USC guy. Very good getting open. He's an awesome separator. Kind of like Concepcion, that he's good in those traffic situations as well. But it feels like Lemon is going to probably have a little bit too much buzz and too much hype. And I don't know if he's going to get into the 20s where the Bills could, do one of those Brandon Beane trade-ups to get him. Carnell Tate from Ohio State is kind of like a Brian Thomas 2.0 or Terry McLaurin type, big, fast, very physical, a little bit green that he didn't have 3 or 4 years of elite level production at Ohio State, but the traits are absolutely through the roof. Denzel Boston you brought up. To me, I'll just summarize it with this. He is, I think, the player that the Bills wanted and hoped that they were getting with Keon Coleman. He's 6'4", 210, plays to that size, is an awesome rebounder, and Coleman was not very good in those contested catch situations at Florida State. Boston at Washington was amazing in those situations. He plays above the rim, brings down everything that's in his vicinity, but he's not going to separate a ton, and he's not someone that you're really going to get a ton after the catch outside of just pure power. The only other name that could be of interest, I'm a little lower on him than most, but he's going to get first-round buzz, is Jordan Tyson from Arizona State. Was awesome early in his career at Arizona State, and never really improved from that freshman season. He was still very good. There are still times where he looks like a complete wide receiver. On film, I didn't necessarily see what he was spectacular at. I just think he's a quality wideout. It's a good class. It's not an amazing class, but I think the Bills will be doing their research on probably 5 to 7 of these top receivers in this class.
Okay, Chris, is there a position group that we haven't really scratched the surface on where there is a need for the Buffalo Bills and a fit where there's an abundance of talent in this year's draft class? And I'm looking specifically at linebacker with this question.
So I can't say linebacker in this class from the ones I've watched, like 7 or 8 linebackers, like the perceived top guys. I thought you were going to go to safety because to me, I don't think the starting week 1 safety opposite Cole Bishop is on the roster right now.
Okay.
And it was a perfect question to ask because I've watched about 10 to 12 safeties. The safety class is absolutely loaded. You're going to hear a lot about Caleb Downs, who was at Alabama, transferred to Ohio State, and was like just the do-everything player on that Buckeyes defense. There are others, though. There's a safety from Oregon who's really, really good, Dylan Thieneman. If you looked at Lance Zierlein's mock draft on NFL.com last week, he mocked Emmanuel McNeil-Warren from the MAC, Toledo, to the Bills. He kind of looks like Nick Emanwari of the MAC. He's like 6'2", 215, super explosive, great tackler. It's a really deep and even top-end heavy safety class that I think the Bills, after wide receiver, to me, it feels like that would be the position that they would prioritize right after that first-round pick in the draft.
Chris, last one for me, and really not Bills related, but I would just be curious to get your thoughts on what you think of Fernando Mendoza as a prospect. What are the Raiders getting here?
I think he's good. I don't know if he is transcendent as a prospect, which sometimes the number 1 pick is just not that type of player. I think last year with Cam Ward, not that he's like Cam Ward stylistically, but I kind of feel similar where it's like, okay, yeah, he should be the first pick. But in comparing him to other number 1 overall pick quarterbacks, Caleb Williams, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Andrew Luck, Jameis Winston, it's those guys were bigger, stronger armed, a little bit more accurate in some of those cases, and they had more mobility. They had ability to not only just elude defenders and scramble, but throw on the run with a lot of accuracy. I think Mendoza, why he will make a lot of sense for the Raiders, if Tom Brady is one of those super hands-on owners, and I know there's some restrictions on what he can and can't do, but I think he and Mendoza will really gel during all the interviews during the pre-draft process because Mendoza really does win with his mind. It's anticipation, it's identifying a blitz and then throwing it hot to the other side of the field. I think he is pretty accurate. I love how tough he was and how he was the centerpiece of that Indiana national title that obviously came out of nowhere. But if I'm looking at traits, I'm not like blown away by Fernando Mendoza. I think he can be a top 8 to top 12 quarterback if all the chips fall the right way in Las Vegas, but I'm not blown away with him as the number 1 overall pick.
Chris, it's always great having you on here in the 585, your home area code, and I'm curious as to what you're doing, where you're doing it, and how we can get more of your work here as we get ready for the Combine and the draft.
Yeah, thank you. A lot of draft evaluations on Twitter. I'm doing a few video series for Cover One. I'm sure you've had some of those guys on, where I'm going to break down a lot of the Casey Concepciones and the Denzel Bostons. I'm going to focus on receivers first because, like you guys started off with, that's the position everyone wants to talk about. And I'll just be doing a lot of those over the next couple months at the Combine and coming on this show to talk about it the next couple months.
All right. Cannot wait. Chris, always appreciate your fine work. Thanks again.
Thanks, guys.
Chris Trapasso. Check him out. Follow him on Twitter. He's in the 585 and doing us proud with the work he's doing here covering the NFL draft and, putting a focused lens on the Buffalo Bills.
Seems like if you want a wide receiver, do you really need to use extra picks to trade up? Going over that exercise that, okay, by free agency, you might have like 13, 14 guys that are on the roster that are going to be gone. You're going to need bodies there. I think you need your picks here, Danger. So the idea that, hey, a Concepcion could be there at 26 or maybe a Denzel Boston, okay, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, but even before you get to that, give me a big swing. Give me a trade for a Harrison or a Brian Thomas Give me a trade for a true one.
Or let me sign Pierce in free agency, and I don't have to give up.
I don't love that.
Why is that? Why is that?
Because of his track record of signing wide receivers in free agency. I just don't think it's an easy hit. I think there's a lot to like about that player, but we felt the same way about Palm. Oh, low risk, high reward. Like, okay, give me a guy that I would rather.
I think Pierce is going to hit it big.
I
thought you would say like cap space. You need it for something else.
I'd rather buy low on a Thomas or a Harrison Jr. I would buy low on those guys rather than overspend, because I think Pierce is going to make a lot of money in free agency, and maybe he's a hit for his next team. But I like the swing. I like the big swing for a name, a guy, a veteran, a guy that's been in the league for a few years that you can buy low on, and I think those two guys hit the mark. We'll see if it can something can materialize. I'm not going to hold my breath because it's not easy. Not easy to do the kind of deal that we're talking about here if you're Brandon Beane. But at minimum, yeah, go get your guy in the first round. Get your wide receiver in the first round. And if you go safety in round 2, I don't think anybody will complain about that as well. Plenty of talent out there.
U.S. up 4-0 in women's hockey on Canada.
Yeah, we'll keep you updated on that as they get ready for the third period. We're going to take a break. Speaking of hockey, we'll talk to Amerks head coach Mike Leone, who joins us in the 4 o'clock hour every Tuesday. That's on the way here in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
You're listening. Sports leader 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
The United States dominating Canada right now. Women's hockey, the Winter Olympics. U.S. up 4-0. They're in the third. Haley Wynn of Webster assisting on the first U.S. goal. Hockey tonight in the Flower City at RIT, taking on the Niagara Purple Eagles or the RIT Tigers. Tigers will be off for 10 days following tonight's game. RIT right now in second place in Atlantic hockey. Rochester Americans also off this week. It's the AHL All-Star break. The Emirates back in action at Utica coming up on Saturday. We'll talk to head coach Mike Leone coming up later this hour here in the Sports Bar. Sports is brought to you by GetMyPerks.com, where today you can get a $50 certificate for half price to Selena's Mexican restaurant in Village Gate. For this and other great deals, log on to GetMyPerks.com today. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
The kind of domination we're seeing out of the women's hockey team in Italy for the Olympic Games reminds me of the domination we used to see in men's basketball in the summer games out of Team USA. I mean, it feels like they're playing a different sport than their opponents.
But this isn't like Nigeria.
No,
or
this is Canada. That's right.
They are blasting them right now. There's only 2 teams in women's hockey that ever won the gold. And right now, one is leading the other by 4-0 score.
Yeah. They look great. They look great so far, these winter games, as we welcome you back into the Sports Bar. Thanks for joining us this afternoon at 95.7 FM, AM 950. Hey, our stream is up and rolling. You can watch the Sports Bar.
Thank you, Pizza Dude.
You
got
can
him out of
watch-
his Patriot coma.
You can watch the Sports Bar on Twitch. You can watch the Sports Bar on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester. You can like and subscribe while you're there, and you'll always know when we go live from our studios. Amerks head coach Mike Leone stopping by in about 15 minutes.
All right, so we'll take your calls here coming up at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. And at some day, maybe it's this week, I will defer to you Wednesday, Thursday. Nothing else comes up. It's a good time to go over our bold predictions.
God, I keep forgetting.
Yeah.
I've got the sealed mayonnaise jar that's been sitting on my porch that holds our bold predictions in there all season long.
Danger, I think you should give me credit on one if I'm a little late on this.
Okay.
Because this report out of Cleveland today, and if you're a Browns fan, your head is going to explode when I tell you this. Mary Kay Cabot reporting that new head coach Todd Monken is, quote, intrigued by once elite Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson, who is now 100% healthy. He begins throwing again on Wednesday.
100% healthy, but also 100% free and clear of his legal baggage. The last 2 suits were finalized, I want to say earlier this week. So the redemption story is about to begin for Deshaun Watson if he's able to still play the position.
They could have ripped off the Band-Aid this past year, knowing, hey, this is not really going to be a playoff season. Maybe one of these 2 kids will pop. But the shadow of Deshaun Watson has always been there, and you're paying him all that money, and the owner wants a return on investment. Of course, Todd Monken, when he sat down for the interview, said, yes, we'll give it a shot there, Mr. Owner.
Of course. And I'm not trying to be hot takey here. I think Monken can get something out of Watson. I think Watson can come back and be a good player for the Cleveland Browns.
That's a take, because when was the last time a game, ironically, in Baltimore, I remember, like, oh, wow, and the Browns kind of rallied. This is, I think year 1, and then he gets hurt. It'd be a lot to ask.
He's been on the shelf. He's been injured, but he's been on the shelf. He hasn't taken a pounding the way other quarterbacks have taken a pounding, the way other players. I mean, how many years off of his career has he saved here? You could add at least a season or 2 just based on the lack of action he's seen here and still get a pretty decent return. I think of Michael Vick really more than anything when I think of what Deshaun Watson could be this upcoming season. When you consider that Vick disappeared and refueled and reignited his career, and when he came back, he wasn't the same player, but in a lot of ways he was better than he was before.
I never held Deshaun Watson in that regard. I think the contract is incredibly dumb.
Oh, I'm with you on
like,
that.
I just like, to me, Vic was when he went away. That was shocking news, and it was shocking who brought him back into the league, Philadelphia. It was shocking that the Browns all of a sudden said, "Oh, you want all this guaranteed money? Here you go." But to me, it's not surprising. That was one of my bold predictions that, yes, like a bad horror film, Browns fans, you will get the villain coming back. He's back, Deshaun Watson.
That's the thing. Like, you could say bad guy, off the field, hate everything about what that guy represented off the field. But on the field, can he still play? Guy led the league, before all of the legal trouble. Had a great season before all the legal trouble.
See, what's funny is, we want to say everything is held to the same standard. It's not, because, again, I don't want to break down why Deshaun Watson is a worse guy than a kicker, but the Bills were in desperate need of a kicker earlier this season, and nobody would even look at Justin Tucker. Why? Because he's a damn kicker.
Mm-hmm.
And quarterback, okay, we're willing to look at, and again.
No, the only standard that exists is a double standard, Gino. You know that. That's interesting, and Monken is crazy enough where he could actually do. I mean, you might find out over the course of the spring, if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, that the best option at quarterback is actually Deshaun Watson.
Oh, everybody looks great in shorts, Danger.
Yeah, but it shouldn't surprise you if that's the case. I mean, Shador is athletic, but not awe-inspiring. Gabriel is less than Shador, and if Watson is healthy, and if he has any sort of confidence left in the tank, because I think you need that. I think what you saw out of Deshaun Watson in Cleveland, the little bit that we have seen out of him in Cleveland, is a broken quarterback, a quarterback with zero confidence. But with maybe the legal trouble being behind him in the rearview mirror, maybe he comes back a different guy, maybe with a different voice in his head, coaching him up. Maybe it's a different guy. Monken can get more out of him. We'll see. That's an interesting report. And I'm not going to give you a point for that in your bold prediction, by the way, because nothing has been confirmed. But he's
wait, what?
Oh, all right. Well,
all right.
We have to go through them.
We'll go through them. Maybe Thursday.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Unless something happens. 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Dr. Neil joining us. Hey, Neil.
Thanks for taking my call, guys. I appreciate it. I don't buy the fact that Deshaun Watson, I mean, let's be honest. I think they had an out this year to get rid of some of that dead money. I mean, there's a reason Cleveland is called a mistake on the lake. And maybe one of the biggest mistakes ever made was basically bailing the Texans out of their bad decision and allowing them to, Deshaun Watson to be traded to the Cleveland Browns and get a fully guaranteed money. But if you look at his numbers when he actually played, right, 79 QBR rating, 2022. 84 QBR 2023, 2024 QBR 79. I mean, Deshaun Watson, to me, I listen, even if he's me, the Cleveland Browns are a dumpster fire. I mean, that's a team, to me, we complain about the Bills and things going on with the Bills, but my God, if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, I mean, you're in a black hole of black holes.
Thanks, Neil. Appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, regime change, new coach, new voice, new quarterback, or at least the quarterback you haven't had in a while.
If you use the June 1st designation, you would be eating $80 million on the cap this year.
And move off of him.
Yeah, and then you would still have to count $50 million in 2027.
He's not going anywhere.
No.
He's your starting quarterback week one. He's your starting quarterback week one, just based on that alone.
Will we ever have a worse contract like this in sports?
Terrible. And the draft picks that you gave up and what it meant to that organization. I mean, you could look at the draft picks that Seattle got for Russell Wilson and say that's a big reason why they're Super Bowl champs. They hit on those picks. And Russ, the return for Russ inadvertently gave Seattle a second Super Bowl. So he was a big part of of Seattle's second title by getting that trade out of Seattle and sending all that capital back towards the Seahawks from the Broncos. Appreciate that, Neil. Thanks for the call. Mike Leone, Rochester Americans head coach, going to join us here in a couple few. The Amerks on the AHL All-Star break now, but back on the ice come Saturday.
Saturday at Utica, and they did what they had to do, get the 4 points. It was Springfield and Utica, and they had some flair. That was good that they showed up for the home crowd against Springfield on Friday night. You had Isak Rosane with a hat trick. Extended rest, though. How do they come out here? Going back to Utica this coming Saturday night to get ready for the home stretch. And look, Leone and other coaches would tell you, we're just looking for, improvement game by game by game. It's these standings are so tight right now. The Amerks are in 5th, but they're only 4 points out of 2nd.
Right.
So you don't want to be in that 4-5 playoff game. And I think now is the time you start to look at these things a little closer.
Talking about local sports, ESL Ballpark, the new name for the ballpark downtown Rochester.
I like everybody how they got all nervous and jerky. The Red Wings last night put out a press release talking about this being, I forget how they phrased it. Big, oh my gosh, this is really big news. And people, oh my gosh, maybe we're moving on from the Washington Nationals. No. That's we're in the middle of a 10-year deal. Oh my gosh, what does this mean for AAA? No. We got to deal with Major League Baseball. That's also a contract. We're not losing that. What does this mean? Will Naomi Silver step down? I'm like, oh, yeah, that would be big news, but this doesn't feel right to have Adam Bello being trotted out there. And then so people started to put it together, and I think Rachel Barnhart also said, hey, we should see this contract because it hasn't been finalized yet by the Monroe County Legislature, but it's not like they're selling the naming rights to the local vape shop here. It's ESL.
That's right.
Like there's nothing what wouldn't you want other than the local hometown bank here, so to speak?
10-year deal with 4 5-year options that could extend the sponsorship, the ballpark there for a total of 30 years at $550,000 per year, over $500,000 per year for naming rights at the ballpark. ESL Ballpark moving forward. Innovative was apparently just, a little Band-Aid there between Frontier and ESL.
Innovative Band-Aid.
Yeah.
That'll be a trivia question 10 years from now. What was the name in between?
Well, you got me on the arena in Buffalo. I forgot about and it's funny because I remember Marine Midland, and then I immediately when you mentioned HSBC, I'm like, oh, duh. But then it changed hands multiple times because the bank continued to rebrand over and over again. And here we are at Key Bank Center.
Well, I don't think you can't say for certain, but I can't imagine like somebody gobbling up ESL.
No.
That's like a Rochester brand, so.
Institution, dare I say.
Mr. Eastman himself.
That's right. Eastman Savings and Loan, baby. ESL Ballpark new for the Rochester Red Wings in the 2026 season. I think we're under 50 days from opening day as well.
I think so. They did the 50-degree guarantee at this point. Honestly, you don't have to shoot that high. If you said 35, hey, all right, buddy.
Did you go outside today? Because everybody was propping up today like, oh, it's going to feel great when you walk outside today, and it's in the 30s.
It's warmer outside than it is in our studio right now. Hey, yo.
How many but it's supposed to snow again tomorrow. Are we getting more snow tomorrow? How many inches tomorrow?
Well, I don't know. We might have a yellow alert. Oh, that's the other station. I don't know.
Let's go.
You watched the news tonight because of fear.
Okay.
Fear.
You're right. 5-0. How many goals is Team USA going to score against Canada? Count.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This helps the news tonight in Catalana because you know who assisted. She's from Webster.
Where?
Webster. Haley Vinn.
Webster. Haley Vinn.
Haley Vinn.
I don't know about Haley Vinn.
W-I-N-N.
So ridiculous. Thank you, Count. Mike Leone, Rochester Americans head coach.
I don't even know. part of me fears like somebody from our company is like, we should really do an audit here on our. Let's listen into these guys in Rochester. Oh,
I just wonder if Scott Hetzko has gotten word that he's become a bit character. Hetzko's done nothing to us. We like the guy. Like, what's not to like about Scott Hetzko?
I've never met him, but
we turned him into a Muppet.
Right.
We turned that guy into a Muppet on our show for some reason, simply because he's a local meteorologist. But he's a great guy. We'll get to Mike Leone next. We'll talk some Mavericks hockey on the Fan Rochester.
823-2946. Odyssey is an equal opportunity employer.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
At the Winter Olympics, the U.S. women dropping the hammer here in hockey. They're leading Canada 5-0. They're late in the third. Webster's Haley Wynn assisting on the first U.S. goal. The Rochester Americans coming off a 4-point weekend. They are off this week. It's the AHL All-Star break. The team back in action at Utica coming up Saturday. We'll talk to head coach Mike Leone coming up next here in the Sports Bar. We got college hockey tonight at the Palisini. RIT hosting Niagara. The Tigers will be off for 10 days following tonight's game. RIT in second place of Atlantic Hockey. Baseball, pitchers and catchers reporting for 6 teams in the majors today. The Detroit Tigers signing Justin Verlander to a 1-year, $13 million deal. Sports brought to you by GetMyPerks.com, where today get a $50 certificate for half price to Selena's Mexican restaurant. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
They've raised the bar on Rochester Sports Talk. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Got the Olympic break in the NHL, the AHL All-Star break happening right now. Mike Leone, Rochester Americans head coach, always go with his time to join us this time every week here in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Coach, 4 out of 4 points the last 2 games heading into the break. That's got to feel good, and getting some reinforcements as well as the NHL world comes to a halt here for the Olympics.
Yeah, it was a really good weekend. When I came on last week, we were kind of winning one, losing one, but we were playing really good hockey. We just weren't scoring goals, and then getting those guys back this weekend really helped. I think they both had, Rosie and, Jonesy, all these guys had out of 3-4 points on the weekend, maybe more. And it was nice to see a score in the power play and just go into the break in a really good place with our team game and a well-needed break right now.
I was going to ask you that. Well needed, but you're coming off a 4-point weekend. But Coach, you've been kind of banged up. So you're saying the break comes at a good time for your team?
Yeah, just a good time, a good reset for everybody. It's been unique this year with just the long Christmas break and then everybody getting the All-Star break. I think it's good for the league. Gives everyone, mandatory 4 days off just to kind of reset. And then kind of like go similar to the NHL, but it's another season when you get back, and then hopefully another season when you get in the playoffs.
Knowing that you've got the rest of the season, we're not at the midway point, but you have the break and you have time to assess and kind of catch your breath here from the whirlwind that has been the first few months of the season. Where do you have your team, Coach? I mean, when you reflect on what they've accomplished so far this season, what's your takeaway from this year's campaign?
It's a good question. I think it's a really resilient group. I told the guys after the last game, we've missed 260 games this year. I think the most in the American Hockey League with either call-ups, injuries, and, we've found a way to be in every single hockey game. We've played 44 of them. We haven't won every one, but we've been in every single game with the chance to pull a goalie. That's really hard to do. And we've been able to, a lot of different guys stepping up at certain times, making plays a lot of guys playing out of slot too. Have probably never played this much. We had 5 guys from the East Coast Hockey League playing D 2 weeks ago and find ways to get points in games. And goaltending's been really good. Scott Ratzlaff's 3-1. Dev's game in a really good spot. It's just a group you never know on any given night who's going to step up. And it's been a really fun group to coach. It's we've coached this team a lot, but they're fun to be around. They work really hard, and we're excited. Like I said, our game, the last 10 games we've given up 21 goals. I think we've got our goals down like 0.25 in the last month, which is really hard to do. I think we're 10th in the league now, and if you're doing that, you're going to win more hockey games than not. And we just got to make sure our team game's in a good place when we get back. Special teams has been really good. I think we're 19 out of our 20 last kills. Power play's been good. So just got to push. It's going to be, if anyone's looked at our schedule the second half, it's really difficult with the, Charlotte's, Laval's, so it's going to be tough the rest of the way in.
Yeah, this weekend you will have Isak Rosane down here. And if I go back to the beginning of the season here, Coach, where, hey, it's somebody that you see Kulik and you see other prospects taken, like, all right, there's chatter that, all right, how many more chances is Rosane going to get here to step up? And certainly he has provided that spark at different levels here. Tied right now for third in the league in goals. What does Rosane need to work on here while he's in Rochester to ensure he's going to be a more complete player when I assume he goes back up here?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Like Rosie, I think his game's in the best I've seen him so far in the American Hockey League. I think his, engaging in battles. Not that he's going to win them all, but just to be in the fight in those. To win more wall battles on the wall. He's put himself in, 6-on-5 situations when we have a lead. He's done a really good job with that. Evident last game. Scored an empty net goal, but Rosie's doing a lot of things we ask that it's ultimately going to make him an NHL player. And, his game has come a long way. Even when he's been up in the NHL this year, he's done a really good job of, finding ways to impact the game. And his game's in a really good place. And, especially for those two guys, they both played 5 games last weekend, which is, down in Florida at the start of the week. They played, I think Helly played 4, but Rosie played 5 games in pretty much 6 nights. And he did a great job for us, especially that Friday night game might have been one of the best games we've played all season. And he's done a great job. He'll have to continue to work on, his play away from the puck, but it is in a really good place, and he's come a long way in that sense.
You mentioned the schedule ahead when you get back from the break, and you've got Utica this weekend, but you mentioned Laval specifically, first place in the North, and it's tight. And I wanted you to speak on just how tight it is there. I mean, knowing that Rochester currently sits in 5th, but only 4 points behind second place Syracuse, this division feels like it's the most competitive as it's ever been.
Yeah, no, it's really competitive. Laval is, for 2 years in a row, they have so many players, depth players. Even when they have guys get called up, they have guys, the Sammy Blazes, who's, won a Stanley Cup, won a AHL championship last year. Just the way they're built, they're a really good team. Syracuse, every team, on any given night, on a good weekend, a team can go from 5th to 2nd or 2nd to 5th. It's all right there. And obviously to get in the 1, 2, 3 seed is really important in our league. Just with the 4-5 game, you're pretty much playing, if you go 3 games in that first series, you're playing 7 games in, 9 days. That's really difficult. And it's going to be a grind the rest of the year. Belleville's playing really good hockey. I know they didn't have a great weekend, but they're a good team. Ottawa's healthy. It's been even Syracuse to do what they're doing. They've had 5D and pretty much in Tampa Bay all season playing for Tampa. So they're all really good teams. Toronto's a really good team, a lot of vets. So it's going to be tight all the way in.
So you get more Utica here. You're going right back there on Saturday, but then for the home crowd, and this is always a day, the Kids' Day event, Sunday. Football's over with. Sunday afternoon should be another decent crowd. So, set us up for what, fans, if they're not familiar with Utica Comets, what they can expect here on Sunday, Coach.
Yeah, Utica, it's we were talking about it in the room after the game. Like, if you had told me their record is what their record is with the lineup that they had, I would have said no way. They have a lot of really good players. They struggle sometimes to score goals, but they're a really good team. They make it difficult. And even in a 5-1 game, it was probably closer than that. We executed on some high-end plays with some of our guys, but they've been Laval, like they're a good team. So it's going to be a grind the rest of the way in. They're really fast. They got some guys that could really hurt you. They're just, if they could ever find a way to score goals, they're a really dangerous team. And every game, here on out is, the intensity is going to get ramped up. Everybody's fighting for playoff seeding or to get in the playoffs. So we expect another game like we saw, the game there. It was probably closer than, they played really good in the second period. Dev, made a lot of key saves. So expecting the same tight checking games for the weekend.
What's your plan for watching the winter games? What's your plan for watching the men and the women absolutely stomping Canada this afternoon, Coach?
Yeah,
you spending some time watching that?
Yeah. The women's coach, John Wroblewski, was I worked with him at the national program. He actually was the men's coach, and then he coached in Ontario in the AHL. He's done a great job with the girls. And then I'll be excited to watch the men's will be obviously really interesting with the teams and how tight the games are going to be. Lindy actually brought up a great point. Like when you're playing those, like, Canada, Sweden, or USA, Finland, like, you're probably only going to see 6 to 7 scoring chances a game. Like, just with how good the teams are and how tight checking those games are. So I think it's really good for our Sabres players that are playing in, and just to watch the competition is going to be excellent.
I got to ask you for your take on two Detroit sports stories. One being the Pistons and Isaiah Stewart. He's a Rochester product, McQuaid product there. And, coming off the bench, I don't know if you follow the NBA and the Pistons all that much. And so, like, what?
He's a dog.
Yeah, I was going to say, what is the vibe out there? Because that's somebody that he's coming off the bench again, and he's going to be facing some discipline. But that's a guy I would think you want on your bench there.
Yeah, no, they're back to the JB. I'm going to pronounce his last name wrong, but their head coach there obviously did a great job when he was in Cleveland, and they kind of brought back kind of like the identity of the Pistons teams. I think they only gave up the other night, and New York Knicks, I think 80 points against or something. They're obviously Cade Cunningham is a star. They have really good players, but the toughness is, when you think about the bad boy era, my childhood is basically Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton. So it's good to see, and they've flipped it pretty quick. It's awesome to see. I know they're getting a lot of sellouts, and I didn't think it'd happen this fast, but Trajan Langdon has done a great job with the team, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah, and then we have spring training coming up, and not only are the Tigers, hey, no, we're not going to trade Skubal. We're keeping him. They go out and they get Framber Valdez and bring him back Verlander. Like that could be something if he's your fourth or fifth star.
No, you look at that was my childhood too. My one of my fondest memories growing up was I was actually at the Verlander no-hitter game in my buddy, and I think it was 2006 when they played Milwaukee, and he was throwing like 101 in the ninth inning. I was at that game. So, and then if you look, last season, I know he started out really slow, but I think his last 9 starts, he was at like a 1.91 and end up with I think it was like 3.63 ERA, which is, in baseball now, if you're anywhere under 4, you're
Coach?
Sorry. I was just watching my stepson go in the wrong truck. I was picking up from wrestling practice. I didn't say anything to him. That's why I was quiet.
Coach.
No, so I'm excited. Like JV is, I always thought he might be the last guy to try to get to 300. He's at 266. That's probably a stretch, but I know he's going to bring a lot of people in the seats and bring back a lot of, memories for people like myself to tune in and watch him.
Hey, enjoy your break here, Coach. It's good that you're able to make time for us here. Really appreciate you carving out some for us, and we'll look forward to talking to you again when the boys get back on the ice next week, man.
Okay, enjoy the Olympics.
You got it.
Thanks,
Here's Mike Leone, head coach of the Rochester Americans, joining us. If you want proof, by the way,
hey,
this guy's the best.
We're all doing, like, Chris Trapasso had to get his son off the bus.
Yeah.
Like, he's doing, like, everybody's doing multiple things.
If you want evidence of just how competitive the North Division is in the AHL, Gino, man, I went through the exercise, and you mentioned it, and we mentioned it to Coach, how tight it is, how competitive it is. The Amerks currently sit in 5th. Syracuse is a second-place team, 4 points up on the Amerks, 56 points versus the 52 points of the Rochester Americans. If you look at the Atlantic Division, do you know how many points separate the second-place team and the 5th-place team?
I know Providence is out ahead. I do not.
12.
Oh.
If you look at the Central Division in the AHL, we don't talk a lot of Central or Pacific Division, but again, for the purpose of this exercise, the second-place team is 12 points up on the 5th-place team. And in the Pacific Division, the second-place team is 8 points up. So you want to talk about tight, competitive in the AHL, it's the North Division. It's the Amerks with a chance. You get a couple more wins against Utica. We'll see what the world looks like next time we talk to Mike Leone a week from today.
We didn't touch on this, but I figured, since Coach is so into Detroit sports and the obvious connection with Isaiah Stewart last night, mixing it up, Stewart coming off the bench, so he's going to be disciplined. But this is what we kind of miss out of the NBA, don't we? I'm not advocating for fighting, but the physicality and showing up. And I'm not a Detroit Piston fan, but if you grew up in that era, whether it was Leone's era of Rasheed Wallace and Chauncey Billups, or you go back even further, that's the identity of that town.
Think about what that did for the sport. I mean, it was Detroit basketball that forced Michael Jordan to get in the gym. That forced Michael Jordan to be a better player than he even was before he started winning titles. He was a great player, and he got the crap beat out of him every time he went up against Detroit. What'd they do? They forced everybody to get better. Why? Because they're physical, because they're big, because they're mean. I like it. I think it's good for the sport. And I'm with you. I don't need to see bench clearing brawls, but if you got a little bit of an edge, and I'm not saying play dirty either. I'm just saying be physical, because the game has gotten a little bit soft. Guys flopping, guys, pandering for calls all the time. It drives me nuts. But I don't have a problem with what Detroit is doing.
Or Stewart. Like, if you ask any Detroit fan, hey, do you have a problem with Isaiah? No, they'd be like, no, I love the guy.
He's a dog.
Yeah.
He's a dog. And I kind of like that the bad boy image has returned to the Motor City for the Pistons. I think that's going to make the postseason a lot of fun. Love having Mike Leone on with us. If you miss him, again, every week at this time, we get an Amerks check-in from the head coach, and they're back on ice this weekend after the AHL All-Star break, away at Utica on Saturday before coming home on Sunday to finish up the weekend series.
Sunday, do we say this is the first weekend without football, or are we going back to the 2 weekends ago, where we're in between the conference championship and the Super Bowl?
I kind of already miss it. You know what I committed to? This is my Valentine's Day commitment to my family. You know what we should do? Let's schlep the family to IKEA in Syracuse.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Yeah. I did that.
Do you want me to one-up you?
What are you going to tell me? You're going to the ballet?
Saturday. It's Valentine's Day. I don't know if you knew that or not. We're going to the art gallery.
I knew it.
Yep.
I knew it. Had to be something.
Yep.
Good
Good
for you, Gino.
We'll look at art, and we will discuss what does that mean to you.
How does that make you feel?
Yeah.
What do you feel when you look at that piece of art? Good for you, Gino. Yeah, see, this is marriage, ladies and gentlemen. Continuous negotiations.
But one of our proud advertisers is the Brown Hound Downtown.
Yes.
And they have a bar.
Good.
So I might kind of mosey over.
Do they have a TV? You got any action? I mean, this art is all great, but you got any action in here?
Like Saturday afternoon, I haven't looked at the U.S. men's schedule, but I would think that we'll be fully on with Olympic hockey on the men's side that weekend.
Let's take a quick break here. We'll come back. We have a couple of other morsels from the NFL to dive into before we get to happy hour coming up at 5 o'clock, and you can join us anytime. Our number is 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326. We didn't really talk about this when it came down to the Tom Brady quote last week. I don't have a dog in this fight. Do you think part of that was him knowing that they gave the job to Clint Kubiak and his future head coach was coaching the Seattle Seahawks?
Huh. That's a stretch.
Is
like,
it?
Even if no. If I could, let me clarify. I could see that entering Brady's mind and him like using that as a reason, perhaps. But there's no justification. If a team puts a statue of you, I'm trying.
Do you remember how pissed off that organization got when McDaniels dared bring up New England? Do you remember? Like he mentioned something.
Oh, the Raiders, right?
Yeah, the Raiders got so mad. Like that was the end for him because he kept on trying to like install the Patriot way and talked about how things were in New England.
See, that's a management. Like nobody wants to hear this is the way we did it here. This is the way we did. You don't have to say there. We don't like there. We're here.
That's right. I wonder how much of that crept into Brady's mind, though. I've got my guy. He's coming to here. And the last thing he needs to hear from me, if I had anything to do with bringing him here, is, man, I hope you guys lose on Sunday to the team that built me a statue. I don't know that he would say that. I don't know that he could say that. So if I view it through that lens, and again, he's so political, he might as well just run for office.
Well, and shame on Jim Gray. Jim Gray is a shill at this point. Jim Gray, has been the caddy for Tom Brady, and that demanded a really easy follow-up question. And to be a good interviewer, all you have to do is listen. When Brady says something that makes you kind of tilt your head sideways, like, you don't have a dog, explain. Like, that's a team you won Super Bowls with. That's a head coach that was your teammate. Those are people that kind of indirectly paid your salary.
You're kind of right, though, Gino. I think that maybe what it comes down to is he didn't want to see anybody other than Tom Brady win for New England. That probably makes the most sense.
It was probably he was just a moment where Brady didn't have his guard up, and he got caught.
We talked about this a little bit yesterday in terms of how we consume the NFL. There's going to be 4 games for the NFL to sell now, thanks to the ESPN merger with NFL Network. And those games can go to the highest bidder, including YouTube, who's expressed an interest in wanting more NFL games.
So we're talking about the Sunday morning NFL Network games. That you want to purchase these, they will be available. I remember the Bills being in London to face the Jags. And we're doing exactly.
Yeah.
And we weren't at that point. We were doing a promotion with CMF, and everybody is running into the venue because, well, it just kind of conked out. And it was probably, it wasn't Yahoo's fault necessarily. It was that
I blame Yahoo. I think Yahoo didn't have enough bandwidth. I think just like Netflix, it crapped out when they had the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight. Like if they're not prepared for the volume, then you have a horrible experience. And it could be YouTube. It could be whoever. I mean, really, if it's wide open, it's wide open. And, talk about not knowing where to find the games. With the NFL, I don't think it's the same problem that you have with Major League Baseball or the NBA. I think you're going to know where the games are.
Part of it, too, is you are leading up to one game a week. And we can tell you that one game a week is going to be over here. And you can make plans and plan accordingly. Whereas, hey, you're a Yankee fan, and wait, what is this? Sunday morning at 11:30 on Roku or whatever it was. Like it's different platforms on multiple days. That's a tougher one for baseball.
I'm not going to laugh about Roku if they want to be in on the NFL. I mean, again, this is highest bidder. Far be it from me to think that Roku is going to outbid YouTube, but if YouTube wants more games and they gave us the Brazil game last year for free, they could certainly get more games on their docket.
Yeah, and where does YouTube want to grow? Do they want to grow more here? I'm sure there's more share for them to get stateside, but I would think that these other countries, they would want a bigger piece.
Team USA absolutely throttled Team Canada. 5-0 the final. I can't think of a Team USA that has been as dominant so far. It reminds me of the men's team in basketball in the summer games when Team USA, when the dream team was just, they are rolling. They look so good. They look like a team that should be in another tournament, honestly. For them to do that to Canada, that's Canada.
They made the Canadians look like the Swiss today.
They looked lost. Team USA is playing on another level right now in women's hockey, which is fun to see. And I think what we see them doing, dominating the way they're doing. We expect the men to do the same thing, but the men always seem to disappoint on this stage for the Olympics with Team USA. Thursday's our first chance to get a glimpse of what the men will look like in Italy.
Yeah, and if you were like, I can't follow, no worries. You're welcome to hop in at any point. Like, that's the thing. Like, I think there are some hockey people like, hey, you weren't with us in October. Don't be with us now. No. You're in a good spot here. In fact, I can't tell you who, will be the top contender outside of the U.S. and Canada. That's why we're inviting Brayton in on Thursday.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
All right, great. Quick break. Happy hour next. 866-4FAN if you want to pull up a stool and join us. We've got a new name for the ballpark downtown. We'll get into that and more of what we learned from Chris Trapasso in our conversation in the 3 o'clock hour, as well as we talk about what this Bills roster could look like in 2026. Your call's always welcome. 866-4326.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
W239BF Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Today at the Winter Olympics in hockey, the U.S. women dropped the hammer on Canada. 5-0 ended up being the final. Haley Wynn of Webster assisting on the first U.S. goal. The Amherst are off this week. Rochester back at Utica coming up on Saturday. That's the front end of the home and home. Tonight, hockey in Rochester at the Policini. RIT taking on Niagara. Tigers will be off for 10 days following tonight's game. RIT in second place of Atlantic Hockey. Detroit Tigers signing Justin Verlander to a one-year, $13 million deal. The Rochester Baseball Stadium will now have the name for ESL. Sports is brought to you by GetMyPerks.com, where today get a $50 certificate for half price to Selena's Mexican restaurant in Village Gate. For this and other great deals, log on to GetMyPerks.com. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
It's happy hour, and I'm truly happy. Right now, what are we watching? Is this biathlon?
Oh, this is the one where you're skiing and then you've got to lower your heart rate to hit the target.
I think it is so fascinating, just fun to watch. You're skiing 1 minute, the next minute you're crouching down and you're taking shots at targets. You're shooting a gun. You're shooting a rifle after you skied, and this is the 20K. 20K? Come on, boys.
It's like, what of these sports could you say, I could try that? You can't try any of these.
No, absolutely not. And it's just compelling. It's a compelling watch. I can't, once every 4 years, I can't avert my gaze from curling or biathlon, just the things that we normally don't see and know that we can never do.
Fascinating. We welcome your calls here, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. I think our top story locally today, hey, some stability here in terms of the Red Wings and the stadium. And, the stadium, of course, technically owned by Monroe County, and so it's good on the county. Now, they still have to officially approve this, Danger, but I don't see any reason, like they do with a background check. It's ESL. So ESL Ballpark will be the new name. Here's the staggering thing. $550,000 they will pay annually. Frontier is at $275,000. Innovative Solutions, which you've dubbed Innovative Band-Aid. Thank you, Innovative Band-Aid. $298,000 a year. All right, so this is all well and good, but it's an opportunity to talk about, okay, where do we go from here? So the questions today about the Red Wings and their AAA affiliation, and this courtesy of Beth Adams, WXXI, that there's a report from the Richmond Times-Dispatch, maybe coincidentally or not, that the Flying Squirrels want to make a run at the Washington Nationals in 2031. They have a new stadium that just opened 2 seasons ago down there, and Naomi Silver addressed that today and basically said, as long as we're doing the things we're supposed to do, and by the way, even if Washington wanted to hook up, you could bring in another parent, and you could also say that at some point, maybe the next decade, there will be Major League expansion. Not that I would want to be the expansion team for the Nashville Stars or whatever, but the point is, should we be worried about losing our AAA status here in Rochester? This was a story back in 2020 where you had to get Schumer involved to keep everything squared away. I think as long as the Red Wings show, hey, we're a first-class organization. Hey, for Washington, it's an easy flight. Honestly, is it tougher to fly from Rochester to Washington or drive the Beltway down to Richmond?
That's the thing that makes this concerning to me is the geographical ease. Richmond to Washington is easier. Or shouldn't say easier. Cheaper is what I should say. Cheaper. Much cheaper. And what's the expense? And look, you're right. The Red Wings are a first-class organization, but I don't know. I mean, the idea that Minnesota was a AAA affiliate for as long as they were, that's an expense.
Yeah, and then, okay, hey, there's a team that's not in AAA. We're going to raise St. Paul up to AAA, and you just drive across the street, basically.
Correct.
Drive across town. When you look at how the affiliations, and this is it's musical chairs, in my opinion, for the Red Wings. It's good that they have Washington, but you're not getting away the Red Sox from Worcester. That is going to stay forever out in New England. You're not going to get the Mets away from Syracuse.
Right.
The Mets own Syracuse. That's a big difference. The Jays and Buffalo. That could have been one, and that didn't time out. Cleveland, no. They're partnered with Columbus. Maybe Pittsburgh, but do you really want to be affiliated with Pittsburgh? Like where would you – Baltimore, do you really want to welcome the – they're hooked up with Norfolk. Like in terms of geography right now, there isn't a clear answer. And do I see Major League Baseball, to Naomi Silver's point, expanding in the Northeast? I don't. As much as I would love to see Montreal get a team back, no. They're going to go to growth areas when baseball finally gets around to expand.
Well, okay, so if it comes down to it and geography matters, Scranton. Scranton versus Rochester. Who's more appealing?
Oh, my gosh. Could you ever pry away the Yankees?
I'm just playing a game of hypotheticals here because Rochester, I would imagine, is a more appealing market than Scranton. I don't know if there's an ease of use as far as Scranton to the Bronx.
2 hours. It's a 2-hour drive. That's
So
all
it's
it is. You
cheaper.
go through the Delaware Water Gap. Yeah, you're there.
So again, with money being the catalyst for all these decisions, that makes me a little bit nervous. Not knowing that Richmond would probably offer a cheaper solution for the parent club in terms of getting guys back and forth and all of that travel.
I think, and you could say, well, what's the difference? There, AA, there's plenty of good programs, and you see a lot of talent. I would say this. More often than not, yes, they will send a guy on rehab down. But Garrett Cole didn't go. Like he came to AAA Rochester, like when he was with Scranton that 1 year. And I'd also say this too. I don't want to be the AA team to Buffalo's AAA. I don't want to be the AA team to Syracuse's AAA.
I agree.
I like there's some things we need to hold on to.
Yeah.
And I think just being cognizant that there are threats out there, like Richmond, Virginia.
I just always say we're a secondary market to a secondary market, right? In Richmond, you could say we're a secondary market to a major market because D.C. is major, right?
Sure.
Syracuse is a secondary market to, if you consider New York a major market, which you should, they're a secondary market to a major market.
No, I wouldn't say that. They're 4 hours away from the city. I don't think Syracuse, anybody, like the only reason Syracuse is because the damn Mets bought the thing.
Yeah.
And the Red Wings are not for sale. So that's the problem there. I mean, please. Like Syracuse as a college sports town, of course they have it over Rochester. As a baseball town, they can't hold a candle in terms of the history and the support.
Agreed. Well, that's interesting. When is that deal up? 31?
2030.
2030.
So and that's all in unison. That's not a Rochester or Richmond thing. That's when Major League Baseball said, okay, minor leagues, we're taking over. We're running the whole thing. And I hate the scheduling. The scheduling's stupid, these 6-game series. Like it made,
I can't keep up. The rules feel like they change, and I don't like the scheduling. I get it, to save money. You've done this. I don't know that the standings mean anything, the first half of the year versus the second half of the year. I don't know what's what. I would love to say that, we're going to win the Governor's Cup. That's a big deal. Like, is it? I don't even know what it means anymore or how you get there.
Well, if I'm bringing this back to ESL saying $550,000, and before we get to 2030, that's over $2 million for the naming rights.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see ESL backing out of that, right? Okay, there was a lot of platitudes talking about enhancements to the stadium, but no real concrete thing. They've got to go ask. And, you got to keep up. Like, that's the thing here. Like, can you continue to bring fans in and continue to make sure that facility doesn't feel like it was built in 1996, which it was built in 1996.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they built a stadium in Richmond in 2024. That's where we're at. I mean, will we ever see in our lifetime a new baseball stadium in Rochester? I mean, just hit the pause button on that. If it's not, the answer right now is no. I think that stadium still has some life in it, but there's other markets that
with
are doing
all
this
the renovations
Yeah.
and everything that's going into it. I think they are doing a great job keeping up with the Joneses. I don't see a new stadium in Rochester. Just like I don't see a new arena, right? Like Blue Cross Arena has been Blue Cross Arena.
You and I banged the table, and look, they made improvements. We'll give them that, but it's not quite like what some other places have.
Right.
I'm not talking like Buffalo. I'm talking like Allentown.
Sure. Hey, look. I think when you could say that your team fetched over $500,000 for naming rights, they're doing all right, and that's good for the county. It's great for the Red Wings. And it's horrible for us because now we have to remember ESL Ballpark instead of the top of mind name, which, hell, it's still Frontier Field. I can't lose Frontier Field just because I've said it so many times through my lifetime. Innovative Field felt like a fever dream, and now here we are. It's ESL Ballpark.
Well, that's like number one. If you're buying naming rights, what is it you do here? What was innovative? Innovative Solutions. I mean, thank you for, keeping the thing afloat there for a few years.
What would you say you do here?
I like ESL Ballpark. I think that's nice. And it's local and it works and it's more money. Good news all around.
Yeah,
just going to take a second to get used to.
Yeah, and it's in the shadow of the tower that, the guy founded the credit union and he founded Kodak, so it all makes sense.
The Raiders introduced Clint Kubiak as their head coach today. No surprise.
So he's not even staying for the parade that tomorrow, right? When is parade? Doesn't that seem like you can't like say, hey, I'll show up on Thursday? I guess they don't owe you any. Like if the Bills win the Super Bowl someday, like would there be a coordinator that all of a sudden is going to jump ship and
you really care? I mean, if you're a fan, do you really care that your guy isn't there at the parade? Or
you
really...
could care less,
right?
You could care less.
You're in a state of euphoria that we've never experienced. You don't know who's not there. You don't care who's not there. You're just having a great time. But in doing what they've done and knowing that he was offered the job before the Super Bowl actually went down, I mean, the Raiders violated some. They violated some rules here. You're allowed to interview, but you're not allowed to poach till the season is over. And well,
now I mean the one quote today from Kubiak about Max Crosby. I mean, you could predict the quote, right? Predict the quote. Here's the quote. We want him to be a part of our success going forward. There's no doubt about that. He's one of the best players in the NFL, so that's a no-brainer to get to work with Max and see him continue to have success. Of course. Until you trade him. Pump those tires.
Didn't Max just get a new contract?
He did, but it's only 2 more years after this. So it was kind of, to use the word of the day, Band-Aid.
Is there guaranteed money available to Max Crosby in 2026? That would be the question I have, because much like Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, I've got to love what I'm doing. I got to have fun doing what I'm doing. I'm the quarterback, but I need to have fun playing. Being all cryptic towards the end of last season, a rough season for the Bengals, a rough season for Burrow with his injury, knowing that he doesn't have any guaranteed money sure sounds like he's posturing a little bit for some guaranteed money.
So Crosby has a $30 million base, which technically is not guaranteed. And the signing bonus came last year, and a restructure. To answer your question, no.
Okay.
No.
There you have the answer to everything is give me the guaranteed money.
Yeah, and the dead cap for the Raiders would be $35 million.
The trade?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That he's available. He is available.
Yeah.
And for the team that has to, again, what's his base? 30. and he's going to want a new contract. You could lower that 30.
Give him the guarantees.
If you're the Raiders, though, what's the price? The comp is Micah Parsons. 2 first-round picks.
Oh, God, no. I can't do it. Not for Max Crosby. And honestly, like, Parsons was great for the Packers until obviously the injury. But now do you have buyer's remorse knowing that he injured himself, that you didn't get a full return on that investment? I mean, you're hoping that he comes back better than ever, but torn ACL, you don't know. You don't know if he loses a step. You hope he comes back better than ever.
That's just the fact that Jerry, like, ultimately won that trade. Ugh.
Well, I am against 2 first-rounders for Max Crosby. I would not make that.
A first and a second.
First and a third for me.
Second being this year, you save the first, and then you get the first.
Just
next
give
year.
him it's going to go this way anyways. Give him a 4th rounder in the year 2037, since the NFL is throwing that out there.
Yeah, the idea that, well, you can, yeah, right, give them first rounders in 2038.
Do you think that there are GMs that are like, really, that's what we want? We want that because we want that flexibility to be able to just give away the future. Who cares? We might not even be here. Why would we worry? We just need to get the deal done, and we can't do it with the next 3 years. We need the next 5, 10. We need an unlimited amount of time to be able to just give away any picks that we want to give away at any time.
I think that's totally silly to make the NFL like the NBA, where we're trading picks into the year 2030 at this point. No.
When I saw that during the trade deadline, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. That's insane. It is insane. But who knows what direction the NFL decides to go. It'll be a conversation. It'll get brought up. So there you have it. Max Crosby having a cup of coffee with his new head coach. And I'm sure the conversation went straight to guaranteed money. Where's my guarantee for 2026? Otherwise, I will never play another down in Vegas again. Hard for me.
You mean it's not about him wanting to play meaningless games in December and being benched? It's about money or something?
I hope you're sitting down. When Myles Garrett said he would never play another down for Cleveland, was it about winning a Super Bowl or was it about the guarantees? I think it was about the money. It was about the contract.
So some guaranteed money, and then all this kind of goes away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless some team says, here's 2 first-round draft picks. I don't know. I wouldn't make that deal. I like Crosby a lot.
Do you keep your draft picks or do you go Trey Hendrickson?
I don't like Hendrickson either. I think Hendrickson is at the end of the line. I mean, what, 31?
Well,
32?
He'd be better than what Bosa offered.
I don't know, man. Yeah, I would hope so, but I don't know. You know, we didn't really see a lot of him last year to really say what's he got left. Don't know. Some of the many storylines to follow here with the NFL offseason getting underway.
I'm just distracted by the biathlon.
It's fantastic.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. It's dudes on skis shooting rifles. Why wouldn't that draw your eye? It absolutely is compelling. And we get to see it once every 4 years. So soak it all in. The curling, the biathlon, what other winter events? I mean, the big air stuff drives me. Like, it's remarkable what the snowboarders do, what the skiers do downhill.
Can we not hear from Shaun White again, though? Watching the opening, and I understand, like NBC, because, well, part of their talent couldn't make it over there because dealing with a real-world situation. But Shaun White pressed into service, and they bring out Chile, and he's like, oh, yeah, I've been to Chile. We did a photo shoot there. Legitimately, that was his quote. I'm like, okay, like, did we do any prep for this whatsoever?
Well, if they're calling him from the bench, he probably wasn't ready for primetime yet. And who could have predicted that he would be thrust into action because of the events of what's going on in Guthrie's life? My goodness.
Brad in Rochester joining us at 866-4FN. Hey, Brad.
Hey, dude.
What players do you guys think would be worth 2 first-round picks? I can only come up with one, which would be Justin Jefferson, which would be more than that. But the other ones I'm thinking about is like Brian Thomas, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Nope.
I can't see spending that much trade value for that. But
Take me back
Justin
to Diggs.
Jefferson, if you want to say 2 first-round picks, I don't know how quickly I can turn things in.
When did what did Bean give up for Diggs?
Just the first rounder.
It was just one first
Just
round.
one first
First and a fourth and a sixth.
Yeah, that's some shrewd negotiation. Thanks, Brad. I don't like the idea of 2 first-round picks. I mean, if you're saying Jefferson, yeah, I would listen to that for 2 first-rounders. I wouldn't do it for Harrison. I wouldn't do it for Thomas. I wouldn't do it for Max Crosby. First and a fourth, first and a third, yeah, sure. Yeah.
No, he's right, though. Would you give up 2 firsts for Jefferson?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Without question. Chris Trapasso was great when he joined us in the 3 o'clock hour. And we kind of went into, what are some of the swings that you could see Brandon Bean make. Brought up both Harrison and Brian Thomas, but also brought up some of these prospects that you're going to be hearing a lot about here in a couple of weeks at the Combine and moving forward as we get closer to the draft. But the anticipation, Chris and I think park our cars in the same garage. Don't just take one swing at wide receiver in the draft. Go with a couple. Bring in a couple of guys. Go early, go mid-round, and really make this a formidable wide receiving room that other teams are going to have to game plan for.
Every year, you and I have our draft crushes.
Mm-hmm.
Is it too soon to say Casey Concepcion is a draft crush? Based on the fact he was born in Rochester. Based on the fact that he's got the run after catch, he's got all the tools you would want to step right in and develop as a true number 1, but you don't have to be the number 1 right away. And by the way, he was born in Rochester.
He's one of us. Hashtag one of us. Yes, Gino. KC Concepcion. I mean, are we planting our flag? I think we're planting our flag. This is the guy we want.
The soonest we've ever done this. The earliest. Casey,
come home.
To Rochester.
Come home.
Brandon, this is our plea.
Brandon, bring him home. Next case. All right.
Can you imagine on draft night, Bills don't trade up. He goes 2 slots ahead.
Well, you got Chicago in front of you. They're set at wide receiver, so they're not a threat to take a wide receiver, I would think. But,
I'm not familiar with the draft order. Let me push this up here. All right, the 2026, and we knew Bills, they selected 26. I will start at 19, Carolina. Maybe. How about Dallas with the pick they got from Green Bay? Yeah, Pickens goes. Yep.
I think they want Pickens. I wouldn't be surprised if they franchise Pickens. That feels like such a Jerry move.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Chargers.
Yeah, probably.
Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, A.J. Brown, if he's not there. Cleveland, by way of Jacksonville. Yes. And then your Bears, right before the Bills.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
We're
going to be sweating.
Lots of traffic.
Yeah.
Lots of traffic in front of them. Love it. Let's get to a round of shots next.
Yeah, as some morsels. We'll close the book officially here on the Super Bowl here. Great take from Michael K. that I cannot wait to share with Mike Danger here. And we have some baseball today, some good and some bad.
Mm-hmm.
And we did find the Kevin Harlan Squeaker audio.
Oh, good.
For the first time, we had somebody running onto the field inappropriately. How did this sound on Westwood 1?
All right. We'll revisit that and get to your calls as well during last call. If you'd like to pull up a stool and have the final word in the sports bar, that number is 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326.
update.
Baseball stadium downtown has a new name. ESL Ballpark will be the home of the Rochester Red Wings. ESL paying $550,000 per year for the naming rights. Winter Olympics today. The U.S. women throttling Canada 5-0 the final. Webster's Haley Wynn assisting on the first U.S. goal. Tonight at the Policini, the RIT Tigers taking on rival Niagara. Tigers will be off for 10 days following tonight's game. RIT right now in second place of Atlantic Hockey. Rochester Americans also off this week. The Amerks playing the home and home against Utica coming up Saturday and Sunday. Sunday being the home game. The Detroit Tigers today signed Justin Verlander to a one-year, $13 million deal. Sports brought to you by GetMyPerks.com. Get a $50 certificate for half price to Selena's Mexican Restaurant in Village Gate. Gene Battaglia, sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Listen to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. The Fan, Rochester.
Back in the Sports Bar, Danger and Battaglia. Time for a round of shots.
You know, in broadcasting, we're always on a delay, right? I don't know if the 7 seconds are actually 7 seconds. If Danger swears, though, you can hear it on the stream sometimes.
Everybody flood to the stream so you can hear me swear.
Yeah.
Inadvertently.
Well, on television, truth is it's longer than that, a lot longer. Research firm Opta tracked the Super Bowl latency. For broadcast TV and cable, the delay was 19 seconds. But for streamers, this is an issue. The Peacock app, 48 seconds. YouTube and Hulu both average 53 seconds. However, YouTube was bouncing around. At one point, it was 126 seconds behind the action. 2 minutes. DirecTV, a full minute behind. And the NFL's own app, not great. They were behind by an average of 102. Which I'm at the point now, Danger, where I'd like to be tipped off by Twitter. Like people that are reporting on the game, the latency is so bad. Like, oh, hey, Trey White interception. The Bills won the game.
I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't. I mean, I appreciate the keyboard warriors that'll watch the game and give you a play-by-play on X as the game is happening or offer some sort of opinion on something that may be happening. But for that reason, I always, the latency, I'd rather just put my phone away and watch the game.
All right. NFL draft, does that hold true?
Same.
No. See, I need to know.
No.
Like the night that Josh Allen got drafted, like, oh my gosh, this is true. And everybody else around us, yay. Like, no, you don't understand.
Gene was one of the many. And there were many who were not happy that Josh Allen was selected by the Bills that night.
No, there's video of me breaking my readers when that happened, saying that they drafted the wrong Josh. Shows I know nothing.
You wanted you broke your readers. You were devastated. Masterstroke was also devastated. Remember, we had Masterstroke with us at the draft that night, and that guy was not happy that they took Josh Allen. Everybody wanted Rosen.
Masterstroke is on a cruise right now, by the way.
God bless him.
Yeah. Wouldn't you love to be there? Michael Kay, Yankee broadcaster, does his show down in New York. He's got a take on Tony Dungy.
Oh, here we go.
Kay says that NBC should fire Tony Dungy. If Tony Dungy's not willing to discuss why he voted the way he did in regards to Bill Belichick in the Hall of Fame, then why is NBC paying him the money to offer an opinion that really isn't an opinion?
I'll do to Michael Kay. I will give Michael Kay a dose of another New York sports personality's medicine.
Oh, who cares?
I don't care. We're still talking about this. This is boring to me. And I really he's not going to get in at some point. Fine, he has to wait a year. It's an outrage that he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't care. He's going to get in, and it will be fine. It'll be okay. Is Tony Dungy? Tony Dungy should have this done to him, that done to him. He's a bad guy. I don't know that Tony Dungy's a bad guy. Did he do that out of spite, or did he do it because he prefers Roger Craig?
No. You're missing the point. So during the pregame, Rodney this is the thing, and Tony Dungy wouldn't discuss it on NBC.
Yeah.
It's not back up your point. That's all we're saying. We were saying that all along.
Oh.
He voted, and he wouldn't tell you or give you a reason, and Rodney Harrison puts him on the spot and puts him on blast. Yeah. That's what Michael Kay's saying, that Tony Dungy should fire him.
I would say he's not good at his job. I don't know that he deserves to be fired. But if you are going to have a take, you got to back it up.
Yeah, well, that's not Tony Dungy. He's not a takesman.
Not what he is.
He's there, and he's there, the calming influence, and it's Sunday night, and you don't have the Sunday scaries. We're going to watch football.
But he's not
Tony
as involved.
Dungy.
He's not as involved, and Rodney's not as involved on the broadcast for NBC. Like, they're the field guys now. They're down there with Jack, right?
Yeah.
So they're like the B team of NBC's analysts. They got the A team in the studio. By the way, Maria Taylor is the best at dishing out hardware post game.
They knew what they were getting from her. Like, ESPN wasn't using her as much. Do you remember that? And NBC's like, no, we'll take her. Yeah, she's good.
She did a good job with that ceremony, better than any of the other networks did with their ceremonies with the AFC or the NFC. You know, for years you have Bradshaw up there, and it's clumsy. And it's
that's got to be a chaotic scene, right? Because everybody's very emotional, and nobody's planning this. It's the last thing in your mind, like, oh, yeah, I got to go up and talk to you, and you got to kind of corral people. And for Maria Taylor, yes, you got a producer in your headset. You got there's a million things going on.
The producer snob in me appreciated the job that she did on Sunday when she was dealing with the chaos of handing out the Lombardi.
I got to be honest, I was gone by that point. Don't need to watch this.
I hate Super Bowl Sunday because regardless of the outcome, regardless of who plays, I can't unwind. I can't, even if it's not a good game. That was not a good game.
That's called eating and drinking. And
that partially, yes, but also just like I want to soak it all in. I want every last ounce of the season. And I get to the point where it's like, oh, now they're repeating it on NFL Network. They're repeating the post game. Okay, I could probably shut it down now. I've seen everything.
It's probably, yes. We will look ahead to the combine and the NFL cycle. The NFL will take like a week off, and then by the end of the month, combine time. The very bad, terrible, awful week for Steph Diggs continues. Let's review. Cardi B breaks up with you before the Super Bowl or during the Super Bowl or sometime around the Super Bowl. You lose said Super Bowl. You're due in court to face criminal charges on Friday. And then this, courtesy of TMZ, someone else is suing Diggs this week. A new lawsuit accuses the wide receiver of defamation and assault. In 2024, Diggs allegedly spread a false narrative that a former employee stole his Ferrari. He also allegedly sent some of his tough guys to rough the guy up in Miami at a nightclub.
Just a Boy Scout, an absolute Boy Scout. But how bad do you think he was in Buffalo? Like when he was here, didn't it feel like he was on his best behavior, even though there were the issues with him and McDermott and there was the pouting and the tantrums and everything?
Do you remember there was a weird story?
Stayed out of trouble at least.
He had a sports car that somehow ended up vacant in Miami. This was registered to him. Do you remember this? And like, oh, I don't know how it got there. What, there was always weird things.
Is that connected to this?
I don't think this is separate.
This is a separate one? I just remember him trying to drive a sports car in the middle of a blizzard and needing to be pushed. Like, dude, no. Bad luck.
Cardi B, by the way, her Super Bowl party, she spent $1.2 million on it. Didn't show up after. Just so upset. So I think this is it. I think she's moved on.
Now, this is something I don't need to see when we talk about biathlon. The athlete finishing the race in a mouth and nose just dripping with mucus. Disgusting.
It's not.
Just disgusting. I get like you're showing this at dinner time. This is it's mealtime. Like forget about the uncomfortable pharmaceutical ads that you have to endure if you've got the TV on in the background. But you've got a guy whose entire face, he looks like he just dipped his face in a bowl of snot.
I don't even know what would cause that. Like you run really, really hard, and all of a sudden you become super, super parched. We've all done that. But
no, that's icky. I'm sorry, Gino. I got sidetracked. I'm not focused because this is a great event and it's a lot of fun to watch.
Well, let me get you focused.
Thank you.
Okay, so you're sad about football ending.
Yes, I am.
Well, no worries, Danger. For Baseball Writer is here. Baseball. 6 teams had pitchers and catchers report today. And there's one pitcher that'll be heading back to Lakeland, Florida shortly. Lakeland being the spring training home of the Detroit Tigers. That's Justin Verlander. He's now 43, and he shouldn't be relied on that much, not with Skubal and the newly signed Framber Valdez at the top of the rotation. Verlander went 4-11, a 3.85 ERA, 137 strikeouts. He pitched 152 innings for the Giants last season.
I wonder if he can keep Framber from being an a-hole teammate.
I got a sense that Framber will be on his best behavior.
Were those two, they were teammates in Houston, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if he's
So that's, good point.
Do you keep the veteran around? Do you need him around just to kind of keep Framber in check? I don't know. I have no idea what that relationship is like, but just my take on Framber is just like, what a horrible teammate. Just a jerk of a teammate. And you want that guy in your clubhouse? Yeah, maybe you need Verlander there to kind of be the governor.
Well, let me read this real quick so Danger doesn't hit the music. The Mets today. I said, don't hit the music. This is not a reason to celebrate.
No, you were just talking pitchers and catchers. This is a big day. Baseball season is here. Baseball writers excited. Sure. I'm aroused. Pitchers and catchers. I am fully committed. I can't believe you would suggest something other than baseball in the sports bar. This has been a disaster. I can't believe it.
Francisco
ESPN Poughkeepsie, I'll never come back.
Francisco Lindor will be evaluated for a stress reaction to his left hamate bone that is in your hand. It's from repetitive use. Surgery is possible if this happens. It'll be a 6-week recovery.
I had carpal tunnel from repetitive use. I know exactly what he's going through. This is a surgery. He'll be okay. He'll be ready for. His agent slipped me a couple just to let you know. He'll be ready for opening day.
Well, the news in Atlanta, they're much worse. One of their arms of the rotation, Spencer Schwellenbach, right elbow inflammation. The Braves are hoping it's just bone spurs, but he's going to begin the season on the 60-day IL. Oops.
Baseball!
Finally, something we've been waiting on since the finale of the Super Bowl from the 2020 season. A streaker on the field. We had this the other night, Danger.
Do you remember this?
Yeah.
February 7th, 2021.
5:03 to go. Someone has run on the field. Some guy with a bra. And now he's not being chased. He's running down the middle of the 40. Arms in the air in a victory salute. He's pulling down his pants. Put up your pants, my man. Pull up those pants. He's being chased to the 30. He breaks a tackle from a security guard. The 20, down the middle, the 10, the 5. He slides at the 1, and they converge on him at the goal line. Pull up your pants, take off the bra, and be a man. And the players with hands on hips at the other end of the field are looking at him and shaking their head and saying, why, oh why, is this taking place in a Super Bowl?
Great.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
The country needed a call like that from Kevin Harlan. So you probably didn't see, in fact, you didn't see this if you're watching and social media people at the game, of course, filming this. The guy wasn't in a bra. I have no idea what he was running. Something was on his back.
He was, I think Tirico called him a rocket scientist multiple times on the bra. This rocket scientist. And if you're just half paying attention, like, what is he talking about, rocket scientist? What does that have to do with football? Nobody would know that there was a streaker on the field.
Yeah. So, well, that's Mike Tirico. Not, they don't show you the pictures, but it's Kevin Harlan's job to paint a picture. Here's Kevin Harlan calling the streaker this year.
For the Seattle Seahawks. Well, we've got somebody that has run out onto the field. And they will stop play right now. And now a player for the Patriots is actually chasing that person. And that was Kyle Williams, who's a rookie. And the security guards have subdued the interloper.
He was alluding to security guards pretty well, but
he did a pretty
there
good
was
job.
no way he was getting away from Williams.
Okay.
That's it.
So here's my take on this. We were a lot more fun when we didn't take ourselves so seriously. My kid loves Super Bowl halftime performances. Loves it. Like, she went back and found a montage of a playlist on YouTube of all of the Super Bowl performances from like the last I don't know, 11 years or whatever. And I'm walking by the room and I see Katy Perry and she's up on the stage and they got dancing sharks and she's having fun and it's colorful and it's corny and it is awesome. And all I could think to myself is like, no, that was fun. That was a lot more fun than I'm not watching Bad Bunny because Kid Rock is on the other channel. I'm like, when did we start taking ourselves so seriously? I want Kevin Harlan yelling at a guy to pull up his pants, take off the bra, and be a man, not the subdued Kevin Harlan that we got here.
So, did Kevin Harlan get pushback from the NFL or his employer after that call?
Yes.
We don't want to glorify a streaker here running across the field. But it should be noted at that time it was the Tampa-Kansas City game. The game's a blowout. The Chiefs are getting rolled, and here comes this Jamo on the field, and Kevin Harlan's giving the people what they want. By the way, we're in the middle of a pandemic.
That's right.
Entertain us. Yeah. It was awesome. And so when that happened, I'm like, oh my gosh, somebody's got to have this. Somebody's got. You know why they didn't have it? Because it wasn't good. Kevin Harlan was like, oh, I got ripped for this last time. There's a player.
And there's another thing. Maybe Harlan doesn't want to be known for his call of streakers on the field. He wants to be known for all the other work that he's done through the course of his lengthy career. He's one of the best out there. But I'm going to remember him for the call with the streaker in the Super Bowl. Yeah, that's maybe a disrespect to his resume a little bit there. But I don't know. Different times. I'm watching the Katy Perry halftime with my kid, and I'm thinking to myself, God, that was a lot of fun. It wasn't so serious. Like, why do we all of a sudden take ourselves so seriously? It's baffling to me. Anyways, there's shots. Thanks, Chino.
Thank you. Tomorrow on the show, we'll be talking about the Bills cap situation with Greg Thompson for Cover 1, and also, why not? Golf coming up this weekend, college basketball. And I'm sure we'll, come up with some Baltimore name to make PJ Glasser stay here on the air with us.
All right, tomorrow afternoon in the Sports Bar, 3 to 6. We'll look forward to talking to you. We'll look forward to seeing you on our YouTube channel and on Twitch at The Fan Rochester. You can like and subscribe while you're there. And don't forget, if you miss anything, we're a podcast as well. Find us wherever you get your shows. Search out the Sports Bar. That includes Apple Podcasts and Spotify. BetMGM tonight, next on The Fan.